Good morning, everybody. This is Ed Avis speaking. I'm the Executive Director of the National Costumers Association, and I want to welcome you all to our webinar today. We're covering a very important topic. It's the big restart, getting ready to reopen your costume business. This is a topic that is very popular, and I think you're going to enjoy today's presentation. A couple of points before we begin. Questions, of course, are welcome and expected. You should see on your screen a little Q&A button at the bottom, and that is how you can ask questions. So please feel free to ask questions at any time, and they can be for any of our speakers today. So don't feel like you need to wait until the end. You can put your questions forth at any time. Also, I want to remind you that this webinar is being recorded, so you can watch it later if you'd like to dig in a little deeper, or you can share it with other people. Okay, I've got three wonderful panelists on the line today. Karen Bricker, who is the owner of Vintage Uli in Augusta, Georgia. Janine Caulfield, an owner of Caulfields in Louisville, Kentucky. And Helen Goncalves from Metro Boutique in Portland, Oregon. So we've got the whole country covered here from one end to the other. And we will begin with a short PowerPoint presentation, and then from there into the panel discussion. So let me just start with a couple quick slides here. We did a survey of members. It's been a while since this survey ran out. I think it was about 3 weeks ago. But I wanted to share just a few facts from that survey because they kind of paint the picture of what's going on. And the first question was, how has your business changed since the crisis began? And as you can see, nearly everybody has had a tremendous loss of business. No surprise. In fact, it was surprising to see that 10% of the respondents actually still had any business that was same as before. Then we asked, have you laid off staff? A few, 20% hadn't laid off staff, but as you can see, nearly everyone else had laid off people, and in some cases had laid off everybody. Now I'd like to see from our attendees how many of you have opened your businesses. So I'm going to launch a poll. You should see this on your screen. Please answer the questions as well as you can. We'll leave this up for a little bit, and that'll help us gauge how our attendees are open or not. All right, we'll leave this up for about 5 more seconds and then we'll end the poll. Okay. So I'm going to share these results. And you can see that of our attendees, 44% are entirely closed. No surprise there. Another 44% have only online or curbside pickup sales. Again, no surprise. And we've got two attendees who are open for regular business. That's good to see. So thank you very much for that. Okay, now we're going to turn it to the panel discussion. And the way this is going to work is I'm going to ask each of the panelists some questions in order. But like I said, if you come up with a question that wasn't answered fully by the panelists at any time, please do use the questions tab to ask that. That's the point of this kind of event, is to be able to answer everyone's questions. So I'm going to start the first question. I will direct this at all 3 of our panelists. but let's start with Janine. Janine, first tell us when you opened, and in a nutshell, how have things gone since you opened?
Okay, we opened last Wednesday. We opened Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Then we closed and reopened again on Tuesday. And we're open from 9:30 to 5, Monday through Fridays, and on Saturdays, 10:30 to 4. The first day we had a decent crowd, but it's dying off, to be honest. It's not what it used to be. I didn't bring my host staff back in. We did bring 3 or 4 people back in, but as far as our whole staff is not back at work.
Okay, thank you. And Karen, same question to you. When did you reopen, and how have things been going so far?
So I opened May 12th, and I decided to do 5 days a week, but I had the door locked with a note on the door because I did not bring any of my staff back. I have them all furloughed, and they're all on unemployment. It was very slow, and I was open 5 days last week and the week before, and I decided to go to 3 days this week. And then I also do appointments.
And have you had customers, Karen?
The first week I had 2 customers, and I had 0 customers last week.
Okay. And Helen, the same question to you. Please tell us when you opened and how things have been going so far.
I opened on May 16th. That was a Saturday, and we thought we'd be opened every day. As Saturday we're busy. On Sunday we had absolute no customers, so we decided to change our hours to Thursday through Sunday for the next week, and now we are only open from 12 to 4 p.m.
And Helen, are you getting customers during those limited hours?
I am getting customers, nothing compared with what we had before. We're getting a little bit of sales last Saturday again, but the rest of on Friday we had probably 4 or 5 people come in. On Sunday there was nobody again on the street. I am functioning with 2 employees. The rest of them are still on unemployment.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let me put another question, and we'll go in opposite order this time. Helen, this question will be first for you, and that is, tell us a little bit about the safety measures that you've put in place once you opened the store.
So I purchased there was a sneeze guard for protection on the counter. We purchased 2 of those. We have made a little sanitizing area when people walk in, where they spray their hands with alcohol and hand sanitizer. We only allow 8 people to shop inside of the store at a time. We have signs. We required everybody to wear masks. Our employees are all wearing masks. We have put stickers on the floor delimiting space between counters, where people can go, which direction. So when they enter the store, they should shop. So that way people have space between themselves. We have made a number of rules for employees, so they keep 6 feet apart. We are following all the requirements for our states that demanded that employees have those spaces, and that we limitate how many people are inside the store at a time.
Okay, and Helen.
And sorry, I was gonna say our sales are final for anything for the face, like wigs or sunglasses, and we delimitate how much people can touch things. We put that stuff on the back of the store.
Okay. And Helen, how do you control the number of people? I mean, is that become an issue yet in terms of having just 8 allowed at a time?
Not at the moment, because we don't have very many people coming in. They're mostly coming in groups of 4, but we pretty much at the entrance of the store, we have a sign that with what we're asking our customers to have and how many we can accept at a time. And our counter is not too far from the entrance, so.
Okay. Karen, same question to you. What kind of safety measures did you put in place at Vintage Woolley to prevent COVID spread?
Very similar to what Helen said. We wear masks. We request our customers to wear masks. We have marks on the floor. We have hand sanitizer. I would limit customers if that were necessary, and to do that, I would lock the door. And then the other thing that I was concerned about was because I sell vintage clothing and I rent costumes, I do have people coming in wanting to try things on. So my concern was, what do I do with the clothes that people have tried on? At first, I was like, do I have to wash them, you know? And so I spoke with someone, and what we came up with is I'm steaming them, because they say that, you know, a certain temperature and humidity will kill the virus, and that was the best resolution I could come up with. So I have a rack for everybody to return anything that is tried on to this particular rack, so we can be sure we steam those items.
That's interesting. And how do you steam them?
Well, I have a professional steaming machine, you know, and it gets really hot. I mean, you have to be careful or it will burn you. It gets so hot. So I just steam the whole outfit, you know, from the inside.
Okay. And you do that right after the customer leaves, or do you set them aside and do that at the end of the day?
Well, no, I would do it right away. I mean, it would depend on if I were busy or not. I haven't really been that busy, so it hadn't been that much of a problem. You know, the only reason I would postpone it would be because I was busy helping other people. But I've been trying to just get everything taken care of right away.
Right.
So.
And Karen, you mentioned that you encourage customers to wear masks. Have they
Yes.
been wearing masks?
Yes, they have. And the reason I say encourage is because our city government was going to require people to wear masks in the municipal building here. And there was a big uproar about it, about how that wasn't legal, you know, because if people were saying if they had some kind of a breathing problem, they couldn't wear a mask. And because of HIPAA, you don't have to divulge that type of information. So it's been a big controversy in our area. So I didn't want to require it, but I requested it. And when people come in and they see everybody else has them on, they have them with them and they put them on. But, you know, when I first started when I would go to the grocery store, that's the only outings that I have done during this, I saw people always had on masks. And the last couple of weeks, I will say that I've gone out, I've noticed that less than half the people have on masks. And I think that it makes me think these are the people that have been home all this time, scared to go anywhere. And now that they can get out, they're not even wearing a mask. I don't really understand it, but that's how I perceive it.
Yeah, okay.
You know, and everybody feels different about it. We just need to be respectful of whatever people's opinions are. Whether we agree with it or not is how I feel.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you, Karen. And Janine, same question to you. What kind of precautions have you taken at Caulfield's?
Well, before we opened up, we had to submit a proposal to the Kentucky Chamber of Commerce, and we had to ensure that we took care of our employees and our customers. So every day I have to, at the back door before our employees come in, I have to take their temperatures, and they're only required to wear a mask when we have customers in the building. We have hand sanitizers throughout the whole building. We only sell only. So if someone tries on a costume or a wig, we take spray Lysol and spray it out, and we take it to a back room and let it sit out for 24 hours before they rebag it. As of right now, though, we do not take anything back. There's no exchanges, no refunds. Once it walks out the door, it's theirs. As far as if someone comes in without a mask, I have them there for them. We have purchased them if they want them, but I cannot make them put a mask on. I mean, we do require it, or we ask them to. There's a sign on the door, but if they feel like they don't want to, then I'm not going to be the police and say, you've got to put a mask on.
And in general, have they been wearing masks, your customers?
Believe it or not, I would say it's 50-50. I mean, I noticed yesterday, we had a group of 4 people come in, none of them had a mask on. Now, our employees are required to wear a mask whenever we have someone in the building. And then we do require the 6 feet, which we've got marked on the floors and stuff. We do have the plastic for the cashier register. And then on the keypads, I have spray Lysol with a rag. When anybody touches the keypad with their credit card or anything, they automatically wipe the counter down before the next transaction and stuff.
Okay.
And as far as gloves, I don't require them to wear gloves because I just think that's just passing germs around, to be honest. I just have a lot of hand sanitizer.
Janine, you mentioned taking temperature of employees. How do you do that?
You have one of those digital ones. You just hold it to their forehead before they come in. I had one here for my grandson, to be honest. So I just took it into work and I use it there.
And have any employees come in with a fever?
Oh, no. I have good employees. No, they wouldn't do that.
Okay. Great, thank you. Attendees, I want to remind you that you're welcome to ask more questions. We do have a bunch more, but if anything comes up that you would like to ask or clarification on, please use your Q&A tab to ask those questions. Okay, this next question, we've kind of touched on this, but I'm going to ask it again so that all 3 of you can discuss it. And that is the limit on the number of people allowed in your store. Karen, I think you answered this question already, but Helen, is there a limit on the number in your store? And if so, how are you enforcing that?
Unknown caller.
Yes, our limit is 8 people at a time in the store. And since our counter is near our entrance, that is how we are enforcing it. And we've been keeping our door shut. So when people come in, they open the door, we talk to them, we ask them to sanitize their hands as they walk in, and we keep track of how many in the store.
Okay. Yeah, you mentioned that, Helen. Thank you for repeating that. Helen, let me change the question then. If someone asks to try on something, how do you deal with that?
So we're allowing people to try it on 3 items at a time. And like our friend said earlier, that we have been steaming our items that have been trying it on.
Okay.
Our governor in our state remind us that so far there has been nothing proven that clothing has been passing the virus. So they told retailers who don't have a steamer to only let it set aside for 24 hours.
Okay, that's interesting. Janine, how about you in that regard? If customers try something on?
They tried on, we haven't had anybody try any costumes on since we've opened. It's mainly been wigs and makeup and stuff. But our policy is if they try it on, they're going to spray it down with Lysol and take it to the back room for 24 hours before it's put back out on the retail floor. And we repackage stuff. And as far as we can have up to 33% capacity, but we have 10,000 square feet. So at this point, we're not, our retail, and we're not, I could have 100 people in there and still beat my capacity.
Okay. Janine, you mentioned makeup. Have you in the past allowed people to sample makeup, or did you have samplers out or something?
We don't have an app. I have a makeup artist who handles that, and he's very sterile and always has been. We have Q-tips and pads. We do not let the customers double dip or anything in the makeup or anything. He's very controlling about that. As far as makeup goes, we do have sample boards, but we don't have them where the customers can get to them. Okay. If they're interested in makeup, we can get it out for them. And, we give them Q-tips and let them try it on, stuff like that. And
was that a change, Janine, or did you always do it that way?
We've always done that. Yeah, that's not been a change.
Okay. Helen, do you have makeup sales at your store?
We do, and we have removed our testers, and unfortunately, we are no longer allowing anybody to test any of our makeup.
Okay. And Karen, how about you? Is makeup an issue in your store?
I do sell makeup, and I follow the same lines that Janine does, you know, and we've always done it that way.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
No double dipping allowed. You know, I keep the makeup, the samples behind the counter, so we have to pull them out for people to see. And I usually do the makeup demo, so I'm controlling it. So.
Got it. Okay. All right. Well, we have a couple of questions that have come in. So let me go to these. One of them is, and any one of the panelists can jump in here. Did you all check with your insurance if you are liable with people trying on clothes or your help with touching anything and they get the virus?
I did not check with our insurance. I did check to see if we were covered for lost income in the beginning when all this happened, which we are not. I mean, I don't think nobody is, but no, we weren't. But no, I didn't. I mean, I made a proposal to the Kentucky Commerce before I opened up, and it met their requirements. So no, I never even thought of checking with our insurance people.
Okay. Helen or Karen, did either of you ask your insurance provider about liability if somebody comes in and contracts the virus?
I did not. I'm not. I don't know how to deal with that issue. That's a good question.
Okay. Yeah, it seems like it would be very difficult, but.
Yeah, I did not talk to my insurance company, but what I did was I called our local EMA director, emergency management director, who kind of heads up like protocols for this type of a scenario. And I've known her for a long time, to ask her, and she is who recommended that I did the steaming of the clothes. But, you know, I asked her for some guidance because I felt like, you know, she had sound advice and had set all of the guidelines and protocols for what to do in a disaster and those types of things. And I felt like she was a good person to turn to for advice.
That's a good idea, Karen. It seems like if you got advice from a professional in government and you followed that advice, that would at least provide you a little bit of protection in a liability situation, because you could, if you were taken to court, you could say, hey, I followed the rules, I got advice, and I followed that advice. You know, it seems like that would be a defense against liability. And I think in general, it would be very difficult to prove how somebody caught this disease.
Right.
Okay, we've got some questions too here now, business related. So let me jump in with this one. Maybe Helen, if you can start with this one. How are you preparing for Halloween, and how has this changed from your pre-pandemic plans?
That's another very good question. It's hard to, well, we already had placed our orders previously. I have not added any new orders, and I really don't know what Halloween is going to be like this year. I'm not, since on my state, our schools are canceled for the rest of the year, and they're supposed to have a late start. They're not looking to start until already September, October. So I'm not spending any more money for anything else that I haven't already ordered until I see sales changing, maybe, you know, the end of the summer, and just what they have available at that point.
Okay, but Helen, you haven't canceled any orders that you previously placed?
No, not at this moment.
Okay.
Not at this time.
Karen, how about you? How are you preparing for Halloween, and has that changed?
I've been thinking about it. I don't know that I can say I'm preparing. I did go through, and when I first closed, the first thing I did was I inventoried everything that anything that I would have to order, like makeup and those wigs and that kind of stuff. And I have that, and I know what I need to order. I haven't placed any orders. I decided to wait. But I have all that information, and I was able to do it very easily while we were closed. And because I only rent, you know, the tricky part for me is going to be the whole steaming and holding something for 24 hours like a hot item that wants to rent, I guess I'll have to take like maybe a list of somebody that may want to try it on, but they can't come back until 24 hours. Because I will hold a costume for 24 hours before I would let somebody else try it on.
Mhm.
Even after steaming it, I think that that's the prudent thing to do. Because we don't know. There's not enough answers, and that's just the prudent thing to do.
Yeah. And Janine, how about you? How have your Halloween plans changed?
When this happened, I put all my orders on hold, and I reached out to some of the companies that I've dealt with, and I've heard through the grapevine, and I don't know how true it is, that there's going to be a certain, I might as well say it, Party Cities should be filing bankrupt, is what I've heard through the grapevine. And they're expecting it to be a good Halloween. They said Spirit Halloweens aren't opening up any stores hardly at all. A lot of your pop-ups aren't opening. And they had said that since it's a Saturday Halloween, that it should be a good Halloween. But my concern is I have gone through my orders. I've put everything on hold, and I'm going through my orders. I'm either taking stuff off of it or I'm decreasing it. I don't know what the future holds. I mean, as Kentucky is opening June 15th, we should be opened up pretty much all the way. Our restaurants are opened. I just worry that if we have a spike that they might cancel Halloween. I mean, schools are going to be opened up as normal as in the end of August. So, I don't know. I mean, we've looked at it. When it happened, I put everything on hold because I don't want all this big stuff coming in right now.
Mhm.
So, but I think I'm going to, I mean, I know we've lowered several of our orders.
Okay.
And I did talk to, I guess everybody knows that Ruby's a child chapter 11. And I did speak to someone from there, and they said that they were going to be okay, that they should be fine for the Halloween season.
Okay. Yeah, it's an interesting question. I think everyone is curious. What is Halloween going to hold? But my hope is that people will be dressing up, even if they're not trick-or-treating, because they want to have something fun to do on this Saturday and such a festive day to begin with. So hopefully it will still be a great Halloween, but maybe regarding orders and being able to place late orders and things like that, there needs to be some work done. Okay, here's another question. Did any panelists apply for the PPP loan or other type of loan from the government?
You want me to talk? Or?
Any one of the panelists can reply.
We did apply for the PPE loan. We didn't get it the first round because they ran out of money, but we did get it the second round. It will be, I spoke to our bank. We went to our bank and did it. And when I spoke to the bank, they haven't given out the papers for the loan yet. But she said that if you use 75% of it for your payroll, which also includes your health care, which we do provide health care for our employees also, that most likely it will be forgiven.
Okay. Helen, how about you? Did you apply for any loans?
I did not apply for the loans. I did apply for local grants, and I did get a small local grant.
Okay, that's a Portland thing or an Oregon thing?
It was a Portland thing.
Okay, good. And is that a forgivable thing? I mean, do you need to
It's a
repay?
grant, so you never have to give it back. It's free money.
That's good.
Yeah, it was wonderful.
Karen, how about you?
I did not apply for the loans. All of my employees are younger and they live at home, and I put them on unemployment, and I'm just going to run the shop by myself until I feel that I'm doing well enough to get them back. I paid all my bills off. It's like the only thing I had a credit card bill. I paid it off the day I closed up. And so really I felt like I was okay. I know that I have friends that have shops downtown that are closing and like wondering where their next meal is coming from. And so I felt like I wanted to leave that there for people that I felt may have needed it more than I did.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Okay, here's another question. Let me start with Karen, since you were just talking, and that is, did you have online sales during the COVID crisis? And if so, will you continue with that type of business?
That I do not have online sales, and originally I just had a vintage clothing store, and then a local costume shop that had been here in town for 50 years closed, and I got the opportunity to buy their inventory, which then made me into a costume rental and a vintage shop. And I never had gotten around to that. So while I have been down, I am working on an Etsy shop now that I hope to be going live with in the next month. But we are working on that right now. So I did not have online sales.
Okay. Janine, how about you?
I'm sorry, I left. What was the question?
The question is, do you have online sales, and did those increase during this time? And if so, is that a business line that you think you will keep?
Yeah, it is something we've always had online. I also sell on different tiers of, like Amazon, eBay, Sears.com, which really doesn't do much, but we do sell on several tiers. But while we were closed, our community really supported us with curbside and ordering through Amazon, ordering through eBay, our stuff. So yes, we will continue doing that. I would say that that's what kept our lights and, pay our bills while we were closed, with just the owners going in. But now that we're open, I could see that there's not a lot of people out still. We've opened up our restaurant. I think people are scared to go out. I really do. We went out to eat. I went out to eat last night, and there was hardly no one in the restaurant. I tried to support the small local restaurants and the small businesses. That's where I've been going. I don't go to your Walmarts or your Home Depots. I try to go to the smaller hardware stores and stuff to support the locals.
Mm-hmm. Great, thank you. Helen, how about you? Do you do some online sales, and has that increased?
Unfortunately, we never have a website. The store has been around for 20 years, and since the ZAO came down, I've been working on a website to go live. So unfortunately, once we closed down business, we had absolute no sales.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Let me just mention on that topic. We did do a webinar last week, or maybe 2 weeks ago now, about starting a online business with a costume shop, and that webinar is posted on the NCA website, which is costumers.org. So you're welcome to view that and check it out. And part of the webinar was that the presenter offered to NCA members a free 1-hour consultation on setting up a web store. So feel free to take advantage of that offer. Okay, here's another question, and this is for those of you who rent costumes, and that is, have you rented any items yet? Karen, have you rented any?
I have. I had two. They were sister-in-laws. It's a huge family. They live on a farm, and they all live in the same area, and they have a common house that they have been sharing on the weekends for like family gatherings, and they decided to do a tacky prom. And the two sister-in-laws, they came in at separate times, rented dresses from me to wear to this thing that they did, and they'd never rented from me before, and said they'd come back. The irony of this whole thing for me is that from January until the day that I closed, I had the best first quarter I'd ever had. I've been open 12 years, and I had already said, this is going to be the best year ever. More people have found me and know I'm here, and I'm just hoping and praying that when things get going again, we can get our groove back on.
Oh, we all hope so, Karen, for sure. Helen, do you rent?
I do not. I only sell.
Okay. All right. Here's a comment from an attendee, Joy Galbraith. It's not really a question, but it's a good comment. I'd like to read it. It says, We only rent and sell some costumes. We do not have makeup, wigs, or packaged costumes. We use O-Ban, odor neutralizer, and steam for cleaning our costumes. We also hand wash a lot. I have learned how to wash costumes the Royal Caribbean cruise way. It is amazing. Everything goes in the wash. So thank you, Joy, for that. And in fact, if you want to expand on that, Joy, feel free to write some more or email me, and we can share what the Royal Caribbean cruise way is with other members. That sounds promising. Okay, let me ask another business-related question. And any of you can answer this. If you had orders that were placed before the crisis hit, have you returned the money or in other ways made some kind of adjustments to those orders? Karen, do you want to start on that if that's a question that applies?
Sure. When we closed, I was in the middle of 6 plays. 3 of them went out right before we closed, and so that was good, and 3 of them canceled. Well, 2 of them were very small. One was big. It was Sound of Music. It was a lot of costumes, and I, didn't know what to do. It was a very good customer, a school that rents a lot, and they called me and said, well, send us a bill for the fittings and, what you've done, and I did, and, I just never had to do anything like that before, something that big, and they were gracious about it and happy to pay it, and I did have another person that had rented, and I said, I'll be happy to give you a refund, but if you would be willing to take a gift certificate, if I could do that, that would be helpful to me because of this, but I understand because of the pandemic if you need the money. And they said, no, I'll take a gift certificate because I know I'll be renting again, and that was a good suggestion, to go that route.
Excellent. Thank you. Helen, how about you? Did you have any orders prior that you adjusted?
We did have orders for special order products, and they are okay with waiting for the items.
Okay.
They no longer needed and one being started.
Okay. And Janine, how about you? Any previous orders that needed to be adjusted?
No, none at all. Mm-mm.
Okay.
No, I mean, we have some Halloween orders, but it's just waiting for it to come in.
Okay.
But can I mention something?
Of course.
I mean, one of the reasons that I think that we're so slow is that there's no parties being allowed, so no large gatherings and stuff. So business is going to be slow to pick up till you can have, our largest group is 10 right now. It's the largest we can have. Like if you go to the park or anything, but it's only 10 allowed. So a lot of that probably won't pick up till that crowd increases because we're a party store. I mean, during the summer, you have your 80s and your 70s, 60s and decade parties and stuff. So I don't expect it to pick up, that much in the next few weeks, to be honest, till probably around June 15th, hopefully. People will start getting gatherings and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Joy, who suggested the Royal Caribbean cruise way of washing, sent in a note that she would love to teach this. Joy, I'm going to see if I can turn on your microphone, and if you would like to talk and tell us about this, you can do that. Joy, can you hear us?
Yes.
Oh, great. Joy, can you say a couple comments about this Royal Caribbean way of washing?
Yes. I started working as a costumer for Royal about 3 years ago, and they put everything in the wash. It's a way that they fold it and put it down in the bottom of a pillow protector, the one with the zipper, because it's thinner fabric. And they fold it, and then in this pillow protector, nice and snugly, and they pin and fold that so it's nice and tight. And then they put them they're like packages. They put them in the wash machine. And because it's not getting agitated together. It's not rubbing against each other. The garments get washed and they come out, and we shake them and steam them and air dry them. And I've seen the fringe dresses get tied with ponytail rubber bands, and sequin dresses and beaded gowns, ties, rhinestone jewelry gets all packed in layers and goes in the washing machine. I could not believe it when I saw it, but it works.
And Joy, what kind of detergent are they using?
They use just an unscented, like clear Tide.
Mhm. Okay, great. Thank you very much for sharing that, Joy. That's good to know.
Yeah.
I'm
So
sure
I could maybe like do a video of it or something when I get home and
that
send
would
it.
be great.
Okay, thank you.
We would love that. Thank you, Joy. Yes, do the video and email it to me, and then I'll share it on the website, and other members can enjoy that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Let me go back to the panel. We have another question, and that is, how have your sales of graduation decorations been going? And I'm wondering, and when you answer this, panelists, tell us too, is this a new thing for you, or have you always had these kinds of sales? Janine, can you start and answer that question?
Our sales for graduation was hardly no sales at all. I had maybe 2 curbsides while we were closed, but no, our sales for graduation, Kentucky Derby is one of our main things, and that really hurt our company because we did do some Kentucky Derby, but that's usually what carries us through the summer months because it's like a second Halloween for us. But as far as graduation, I didn't even put it out. I mean, it's on our website, but there was probably no sales at all for graduation.
Okay. Janine, let me expand the question and ask this. Was there anything that you had sales of during the crisis that you didn't have before, that was newer maybe, or not? Or is it just overall everything down?
It was overall, I mean, everything what we've always done. There was nothing new. I do know that we had more sales locally over the internet than we ever have because we were closed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, sold more into the area of Kentucky and Indiana. But as far as anything different selling, no. We did sell a lot of political stuff. I mean, more patriotic, not political, patriotic stuff than we ever have, like flag door covers. We have seen a little bit of a spike in that, but other than that, no, nothing unusual.
Okay. How about face masks?
We did a post on our Facebook with, we did do, as a matter of fact, we really did. We had people who were coming back to work wanted to wear something funny. We had the sheriff come to our back door, and he wanted a Batman mask because he was required to wear a mask. So a lot of them came in trying to do something funny, like a Spider-Man mask, or, you know, one came in wanting a skeleton, you know, the little stretchy mask that goes over your face. But there was a little bit spike of that, yes. Just for the humors, you know. For gloves, they bought the Mickey Mouse hands. You know, we kind of did a little post on our Facebook for that.
All right, thank you. Karen, how about you? Did you have any interesting sales during the crisis that maybe you would not have had before, either graduation related or anything else?
I did not. I did not. I was totally closed. I mean, the only people that called me while we were closed looking for things were drag queens wanting makeup. That's essential for them. Mm-hmm. They were doing videos like on Facebook or something, you know, and I did come in a couple of times to sell makeup to people, but that's really it. I mean, I was pretty much shut down for 2 months.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
No sales.
Helen, how about you? Any unusual or different sales during the crisis that you would not have had otherwise?
Yes, a local stripper club are doing delivery service for food import. They actually got featured in the New York Times,
Oh.
and they bought up our pasties. So they've been keeping us with sales for a lot of pasties. So that has been wonderful.
That's interesting. Great.
If you guys want to look it up, it's called Boober PDX. It's very entertaining to watch their videos.
Oh, Helen, can you spell that out?
Yes, Boober, Boober PDX.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Yes, no problem.
Okay. Here's another question. During the crisis, we learned about a lot of costume businesses that were doing something online like videos or training or funny things in order to keep their names in the focus. Helen, I know that your business doesn't have a website, so let me focus this question to Karen and Janine. Did either of you do something special on your website to generate attention during this time?
We just tried to post to let them know that we were still there. We did an email contact, sent out catalogs to our customers through our email blast is what we do, contact, you know. Other than that, we just kind of try to post something funny. But to be honest, I kept thinking, you know, what could we post that we have, that, you know, but we just try to keep our name out there as much as we can.
Okay. Karen, how about you?
I personally didn't do it, but a local business downtown did this campaign called We Give a Shirt campaign, and they ran the whole thing, and anybody in the city could have done it, and it all started with downtown businesses, and I requested a t-shirt. They designed it, they put it on their website, they promoted it, they did a sale. The sale only went for 7 days, so which created this sense of urgency, like you had to buy one. And they charged $20 a shirt, and they had to get 50 orders to do it, to make it cost effective. And so then they shipped the shirt to the person and everything. They gave me $10 of every 20 they got. And so I got like $780 because I sold like 78 shirts, I guess, or something like that. And then I turned around and spent some of the money and bought more t-shirts to have in my shop and sell because I had so many people that were requesting them. It put my name out there in a way I never saw coming. So that was really good. But the other thing I am working on in the summertime, I pull old costumes all during the year because we end up getting in rental costumes that are older, that they've seen better days, and they're really not good for renting anymore. And instead of just taking them to the Goodwill or donating them somewhere, in the summertime when it's slower for costume rentals, I do a dollar rack. Mm-hmm. And many times these things are worth more than $1, but it's the best free advertising I've ever done. And so I am prepping my dollar rack, and I'm going to send out an email to a group of like theater people first and let them come in maybe next week or the week after, because I usually start at June 1st, and probably not this week, but next week. And let them come in, and then after that, I will put that on Facebook, and that usually generates, I mean, a good bit of business for me. And I have like a big double rack, a two-sided double rack full of this kind of stuff, and I pull old vintage and costumes. So
great. That's interesting. Thank you, Karen. I love that t-shirt concept.
Yeah, it was fabulous.
Some of you know that Kathy and I, my wife Kathy and I, also manage an association that's in the printing business. And we have learned that several of our members in that association have found new customers during this time by making lawn signs and banners and t-shirts and things. One member I talked to a couple weeks ago was doing a great business with graduation, making these kinds of signs. And I bring that up because the NCA has developed a relationship with this other association in which members will be able to sell banners and signage in their shops and then have the local printing business print those for them. So stay tuned for more information about that. We haven't fully launched it yet, but it's on the drawing board. Okay, we've got a couple of comments here too I'd like to read. This is from Elizabeth Galbraith. She wrote, Costume Gallery Newport had a call this week about a youth outdoor show and renting costumes for 2 weeks. I turned down the rental because I'm worried about how the parents will clean the costumes properly. I am working with the designer about purchasing items for the show. So thank you for sharing that. And then she also writes, Costume Gallery Newport had 5 summer shows on the calendar. One show went ahead and purchased the costumes and is waiting to pick up. The other 4 have canceled, but I told them that I will hold what we already have on hold for them through August, and then we will be in contact. And then she finally writes, our business liaison and grant group came up with signs and bumper stickers for Newport businesses to support local stores. I think the concept of supporting local businesses is more essential than ever, and it's great to hear so many businesses focusing on that. Okay, we have only a few minutes left. If you have any other questions, now please do type them. But I'm going to focus one last question on each panelist. And this question came in, and it's also something that I know many people have been thinking about. So let's start with Helen on this question. And that is, without a crystal ball, what percentage do you believe your sales will be affected this year, considering Halloween and Christmas? Helen, do you have any feeling for that?
I think between 40 to 50%. I think it's going to be big and it's going to be scary.
40 to 50% down, you mean?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And Karen, how about you? Any feelings on that topic?
I think that Helen may be right. It just depends on if we get a vaccine. You know, there's so many variables as to what could be the case, you know. But it does concern me. I will say I'm just grateful that I had a fabulous first quarter. I'm just going to count my blessings there.
Right. And Janine, how about you?
We expect it to probably be down, but it really depends on, you know, if they open it wide up or, you know, if there's going to be Halloween parties. I mean, it's really an iffy. It's kind of up in the air. We're hoping that it's going to be up, but we're buying like it's going to be down. I'm not buying a lot of new stuff this year. I'm going to try to go with what we've got, and you know, our orders, I went through and kind of deleted a lot of the stuff, or, you know, brought in less quantities.
Mm-hmm. Now, Janine, your business also distributes some products to other stores. How have you noticed that business? Is it equally affected?
Yes, that is way down.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we don't really expect to get many on the distributed level, to be honest, because a lot of people don't know what Halloween's going to hold. They're probably going to go through with what they've got, and if they do, want something, it's just going to be maybe this for a customer. Can I have this wig for, you know, it's not going to be, and we're not, you know, they can call it and get one piece of something if they need it for a customer. But it's not going to be like a Halloween order or anything. We do expect to get some, but nothing like before, no.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. I think that raises a good point for vendors to understand that this year will be totally atypical, and they may need to be prepared for a lot of last-minute orders and how they can best accommodate those in order to make sure that Halloween goes off if the business is there. And let's all hope it is. Okay, well, thank you everyone, attendees and panelists, for your time. It's been a very enlightening conversation, and let me remind you that this event was recorded and we'll post it on the website later today. Let me especially thank Karen, Janine, and Helen for your time today and your insights. They were very valuable and greatly appreciated. And with that, we will end today's webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.